Welcome back. Today we're going to show you how to remove a Toyota Supra MK4 engine. Let's move the car back to make space at the front. Alright, we got the car back. We made space at the front. So now let's disconnect the engine from the engine bay and then remove it. 2JZ in the flash. Alright, as you can see, to remove the engine, you got facing towards the car, you got on the left side, you got the right side, the rear of the engine, and at the front. So at the front, you need to remove the radiator. So you got one pipe here, or one pipe on the bottom. From the left hand side, it's got these wires connecting into the coil, the alarm system. That's quite simple. And then on this side here, you got all these wires going into the fuse box and few of the bits and bobs. And on the back of the engine, you got the gearbox, you got the heater core pipes going to the car, and then you got the engine loom going to the bulkhead of the car.
Also, you got the acceleration cable on this side, which is always needs to come off as well. And then obviously, if you look at this side, the exhaust manifold and the
which is already disconnected.
And then you obviously got the air box, which obviously that pipe connects to the throttle body,
which is disconnected again. So this one's quite simple to remove. And apart from that, from the back, the engine the gearbox disconnection from the engine, we're going to leave the engine connected to the gearbox, or the gearbox connected to the engine, and we're going to remove them as one piece.
But if you want to remove just the engine, then obviously you're going to jack the car up, put an axle stands, and then go, and then you got some bolts from the gearbox connected to the engine. You disconnect those bolts, you disconnect the prop shaft from the back, and obviously the gearbox mount, you disconnect that, and then that will remove the gearbox separate from the engine. But we're not going to do that. We're going to take the whole unit off together.
Don't forget to remove the engine mounts. You got one on each side. So, yep, there you go. And then on the gearbox, you got 4 bolts going under the gearbox, which are 2 each side of the gearbox. And once you've done that, don't forget to remove the transmission oil off the gearbox, which is easy. It's just 1 bolt from underneath the gearbox. I can't believe it that we haven't showed no content in removing an engine off a car like this before. We've done so many engine removers, but I have to say the Toyota Supra MK4 2JZ is so much easy to remove the engine. Now, a lot of you would say, and I agree with you when you say this, is why not disconnect the gearbox from the engine and then remove the engine? It'd be so much easier. And you're right, it would be. It would make our life a lot more easier, but we haven't got the right equipment. We haven't got the right safety tools and safety equipment to go underneath the car, disconnect the gearbox, and then take the engine out. So therefore, we've taken the engine with the gearbox completely out. And you know what? For us, it's so much easy. Just go underneath, disconnect all the bolts, go around the engine, disconnect the loom, the pipe works, and anything like the earth wires and all that, and pull the engine out. Now, funny enough, if I show you a backstory of this Toyota Supra, this is one of the silver Toyota Supra MK4 we have. We bought this as a rolling shell a while ago, and we just dry stored it. Then we found an engine and gearbox, put a new clutch in there, put the engine and gearbox together, put the engine and gearbox in the car, but we are removing it again. And the reason why we're removing it is because we got a Mark III W58 gearbox. And we thought, you know what? We'll just get the bell housing, change the bell housing on, put the gearbox on, put the engine and gearbox in the car, and then realise it hasn't got that tripod extended gear stick or gear lever that goes into the gear stick tunnel and up. So the W58 Mark III gearbox have it exactly on the gearbox, but the gearbox doesn't sit back. It's just more further away from that tunnel, the exit hole. And then they got the tripod extended gear stick lever, which comes into the car and up. We thought, you know what, we might get away with it by customizing that. We tried. Obviously, we don't weld, so we didn't have a clue what to do. We asked a lot of people who do weld, fabricate stuff. They didn't know how to do it, so we looked online. We saw some, but they were all from America, so you had to get them shipped out. So we started looking for a W58 Mark IV gearbox, and we luckily came across one, which was a fair price, and it was, it was all in working order. We knew who it was, so we went and bought that. That's the reason why we're removing this engine and gearbox, and then we're going to switch the gearbox over. And obviously, we don't show that bit in the video, and we don't show the bit of the video where we put the gearbox and the engine back. But we've done it. So now the car is complete, it's running. And then we had some brake issues. We redone the brake pipe work on it. That's all sorted. And now we're onto the bodywork of the car. So the car is nearly done. But obviously, because of the weather is quite cold, we are reluctant to carry on with this project at the moment until it warms up a bit. So for the future, we need to do the bodywork of this car. We've got side skirts, we've got front OEM lip, we've got some nice wheels, we've got some nice exhaust that we need to customize and put on. So once that's done, hopefully the car should be ready. I mean, to be honest, the car runs absolutely spot on. Clutch is new, The gearbox is good, and the engine is spot on as well. You got the ECU cable, which are 3 plugs. Then you got this big orange cable or plug that comes up from here. So this white tab pushes up and this pops out. And apart from that, the inside fuse box, you got this white cable over here, and then you got a grey cable or plug, shall I say, just in there, which is all disconnected now. And that one be this one here. And once that's done, all this is loose, and the ab should be able to pull it out from the other side, and this should go all in, or should I say out. Our abs, pull it out. There you go, one plug, ECU plugs, and the other 2 that goes in the fuse. Lovely. And just like that, the engine is ready to be removed. All right, just to go once more time before we remove the engine. So from the left side, you need to take this ignition coil pack off. You need to remove this out of the distributor. Then you got a plug over here. Then you got the air filter box pipe connection over here. You got the manifold that you need to remove from the exhaust, which is already removed. You got the master cylinder that you need to disconnect from the gearbox. You got the heater core pipes, a sensor that sits on the back, as well as a earth wire. You got this air box or filter box that you need to remove. And as you come underneath the engine block, you have a fuel filter line or a fuel line that connects to the filter. You can either disconnect it from the bottom of the block over here, or if you go underneath the car, you got a fuel filter that you can disconnect from there. You got the power steering line that you disconnect from the power steering reservoir. You got these 2 wirings that connect into the fuse box, as well as this one here, and you got another wire over here. And then you've also got the power to your starter motor that connects into the power to your fuse box. Once you've done that, you got to disconnect this ignition box here. You got your main engine loom going inside the car that connects to your fuse box and the ECU. Once all that's removed, the engine should be ready to be disconnected. Don't forget the 2 engine mount bolts and the 4 gearbox mount bolts. And then the engine should be ready to pull out, and we've got the engine crane, we've got the straps around the engine, all securing the engine, and now we are going to pull the engine out. Like I said, so much easy to do Toyota Supra Mark 4. We love working on these engines. We love pulling the engines out. We need to do any gearbox work or clutch work. You know what? First thing we think of, you know what? Let's just pull the engine out. It's so much easy. Take the engine out on the bench, work on it. Timing belt change. You want to do the gearbox change. You want to do clutch up change. Engine is removed, and engine crane has seen better days. So that's how you remove an engine, guys, of a 2JZ Mark 4 Supra. If you enjoyed the video, click that like button, subscribe and share. Stay safe, stay blessed, and we'll see you in the next one.